They say family is your first home, the place where you find comfort, loyalty, and love. But sometimes that very home becomes the reason you forget how to trust again. This is my story. My name is Ariba Khan. To the world, my family looked like a picture of unity, successful, respectable, and deeply bonded. My father, Rashid Khan, was a man everyone admired, hardworking, honest, and loved by all. He built his business from scratch, a textile company that supported dozens of families. He often said, "We don't earn for ourselves, Ariba. We earn so everyone around us lives better." But not everyone shared his heart. Behind those polite smiles and fake laughter at family dinners were eyes filled with envy and greed. My uncles, Khalid and Imran, always praised my father in public, but I often overheard their whispers when they thought no one was listening. They wanted what he had, his success, his respect, his control. And when my father suddenly passed away from a heart attack, that was the day the wolves took off their masks. The days after his death were a blur of pain and loss. Everyone came to offer condolences, or so I thought. But even during his funeral, I saw how some eyes were not filled with sorrow. They were filled with calculation. Within weeks, they started talking about handling my father's business and property. Uncle Khalid said, "Ariba is too emotional. She can't manage these things alone." Uncle Imran added, "We're her family. We'll take care of everything." I trusted them. I was grieving, weak, and too heartbroken to think clearly. So I signed a few documents they brought, papers they said were routine. I didn't know that with each signature, I was handing over everything my father built to them. Months passed. Slowly, things started to change. I was no longer invited to the company meetings. The staff who once respected me now avoided eye contact. Even the family home, my father's house, felt different. One evening, I overheard my cousins laughing in the courtyard. One of them said, "She still thinks she owns something. Poor girl doesn't even know everything's ours now." Something inside me froze. I walked to my father's study. His room still smelled like him. And there, I searched for the documents I had signed. What I found made my blood run cold. The papers were property transfer deeds. Everything now legally belonged to my uncles. Even my father's company shares were gone. I felt like the ground beneath me disappeared. My own blood, the people who hugged me at my father's funeral, had stolen everything from me while pretending to protect me. I locked myself in my room for days. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. I kept hearing my father's voice in my head. "Ariba, never let anyone silence your truth." But the truth was too painful. How could I fight my own family? How could I expose them when everyone else saw them as saints? They started treating me like a burden. When I'd ask about my father's belongings, my aunt would say, "You should be grateful we're still letting you stay here." Each word cut deeper than a knife. One day, my cousin Rita came to my room and whispered, "Ariba, they're selling your father's company. You should do something before it's too late." That was the night I decided I would not stay silent anymore. I didn't confront them. I didn't argue. I played the game they taught me, quietly, smartly. I gathered every document I could find, copies, emails, old files. I met my father's old business partner, Mr. Ahmed, who confirmed my worst fear. They had not only stolen the business, they had forged my father's signature after his death. Mr. Ahmed said softly, "Your father was proud of you, Ariba. Don't let them erase his name." That night I cried, not out of sadness but out of rage, because the fire inside me was finally alive. I met a lawyer secretly, Advocate Sana, a strong woman who believed in justice. We worked quietly for months. She helped me collect every piece of evidence, from bank statements to handwriting analysis, reports proving forgery. Meanwhile, I acted normal at home. I smiled when they laughed. I served tea when they mocked me. But behind my silence, I was building their downfall. When they sold my father's last piece of property, I let them celebrate, because the next morning, I took them to court. It was a stormy morning, the kind that feels like destiny is listening. Everyone was in the courtroom, my uncles, cousins, and even neighbors. They looked confident, until the lawyer began revealing everything: the forged documents, the false signatures, the fake company accounts. Each page of evidence was like a mirror showing them who they truly were. Uncle Khalid's face went pale. Uncle Imran tried to deny it, but the proof was undeniable. The judge looked at me and said, "Miss Ariba, do you have anything to say?" I stood up, hands trembling but voice steady, and said, "Yes, Your Honor. They betrayed their own blood, but I didn't stay silent, because silence in front of injustice is the biggest sin." The courtroom was silent. Even they, the ones who thought I was weak, couldn't meet my eyes. The verdict came. Every property, every share, every right returned in my name. Their accounts were frozen, their reputation destroyed. The same people who once called me a helpless girl were now the ones hiding from society in shame. But I didn't feel joy, only peace, because revenge wasn't my goal. Justice was months later. I reopened my father's company. I hired the same employees my uncles had fired. We renamed it Rashid and Daughter Textiles because I wanted the world to remember the man who built everything from nothing. Sometimes I visit his grave and tell him softly, "Baba, they tried to erase your name, but I made sure the world remembers it louder than ever." And as the wind blows through the trees, it almost feels like he's smiling back. They thought I would hide in fear. They thought I would beg, or cry, or stay quiet. But they forgot. The blood they betrayed was the same blood that carried my father's courage. They betrayed their own blood, but I didn't stay silent, because silence, when broken with truth, becomes the loudest sound of justice.